let's discuss the absolute most important thing inside of your Facebook ads, your ads. Facebook ads decides what to charge you based around your spend, your budget, and your estimated action rate, or how likely people are to take a desired action. So one of the biggest things we have to remember is the best accounts in the world prioritize the consumer and the end user experience. Because remember, Facebook's objective is to keep people on the platform for as long as possible. Unlike Google or Amazon or email, where the goal is to get somebody to engage, for them to click, for them to take the action and then go about the rest of their life, Facebook wants to sell that attention for profit. That's their business model. So if you are not testing your ads to improve the estimated action rate, the stickiness, the click-through rate, and the bounce rate of your ads, then you are actually not testing your account to improve your cost, which means you're not going to be able to see stability. You're not going to be able to scale. And ultimately, you're going to pay higher and higher CPMs as your costs get higher and higher and your instability grows more and more, and you have to work harder and harder to get a lower and lower return and eventually give up. There's a big reason why people are having to let folks go or cancel vacations or spend hours of every day banging away on a keyboard in desperation or close their business. And a lot of it has to do because they're forgetting the most important thing: making better ads today. So let's get down to the bottom. What can you do to absolutely make better ads, and how do ads actually work inside the Facebook ecosystem? As somebody that has worked with the engineering and product team for years to literally develop this functionality. So let's get to the bottom of it. Point number one, ads and learning. Now, every ad understands, so let's break it down more. The ad is actually a web page. Every ad has its own URL. We call this the post ID. Now, as you spend money, Facebook is learning who responds positively, who has a high estimated action rate, who has a high click-through rate, who enjoys that content so you get a good stickiness, and who has a high bounce rate. How long do they watch the videos? How much do they engage with the content? How much are they willing to just scroll right on by or leave a comment or share or click on it? When Facebook learns who is most likely to respond positively to this, what they ultimately are able to do is then try to achieve their business objective of showing these ads to other people who are likely to respond positively to it. So we've hit on a few big key points right here. Facebook is learning who responds positively and has a high estimated action rate on your ad. This is what we call the learnings, or the learning phase. Anybody that tells you this is not where learnings occur doesn't know what they're talking about. This is legitimately how the code was designed, and I've spent dozens of millions of Facebook's dollars in case studies over the last several years to prove this out, and literally every single time we've been able to prove that the code works as designed. So now, what is the impact of this? Well, what this means is your ads effectively create their own lookalike audiences. Because remember, Facebook wants to show these ads to people that respond positively to them. So really what we're facing here is, how do we make content that people want to see that ultimately gives Facebook their business objective goal of selling eyeballs for profit in a way that also generates good business results for us? Well, on our end, we can test for a lot of different things, but there's one more part on the Facebook side that we really need to be concerning ourselves with. If these ads are going out and creating lookalike audiences to find other people that respond positively to these ads, what it means is our ads do the targeting. Now, this is something we've known for years, and you may or may not have heard, but if anybody tries to tell you that the solution to your problem is the right audience, what it means is they don't know what they're talking about. Every audience that you try to put into Facebook costs extra. So when you put in an interest group or behavior group or some custom audience, what you are doing is you are paying a premium. Now, back in the day when I first started on Facebook, it would literally say, hey, this audience adds 35 cents or this audience adds 40 cents to your CPMs. And I know you're saying, well, 40 cents, it doesn't mean anything. Well, when I started, your average CPMs were $3.50 to $4. So it was a 10% increase in your cost. Now imagine a 10% increase on your cost for your $25 to $30 CPM ad. That can be $2, $3, sometimes $4, $5 if you're stacking a bunch of things on top of each other. So how much extra are you paying to show Facebook, to tell them, we want you to show these ads to these specific people? Now, not only that, but because your ads make lookalike audiences, what you're doing is you're paying extra to restrict the amount of people and the quality of people that you're actually able to show that ad to. So let's say your ads lookalike audience is, 5 million people. And your interest group is, say, 10 million. Well, what is the Venn diagram of the people that Facebook thinks that want to see your ad, that it wants to show it to because that's creating a good user experience for them, and the people that you're only letting Facebook target because of your targeting? Well, it's not going to be that high. The overlap is the only real place where there's good audience for you. And you know what? You can be successful trying to hack this overlap, especially if you test specifically to have this overlap be as high as possible, which is where we find an ad and then we test it against different interest groups and audiences to see what works. The problem is if you test 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, a dozen audiences, the one that ultimately does work, not only is it successful in its own right, but it has to pay for all of the other losses before you're even able to see a profit from it. So if you're testing, say, only 5 audiences, the one that wins has to pay for the other 4 losers, and then it can go out on its own and actually produce a desired business result. So when you say, well, I've tried 5 different audiences, this one's giving me a 2x return, and this one's giving me a 0.3, I'll turn off all the other ones. You're not actually making any money until you've paid off your entire testing budget, and then you're able to at least begin to start breaking even on the development of those assets. And then hopefully that ad is good enough for a long enough time against that audience that is unstable and limited for you to see a real sustainable profit. And the problem is if you're chasing down your ads against interest groups and audiences, then you're going to have to do this over and over and over again. Now, remember we talked about the auction is the estimated action rate. Now, what happens when you show your ad to a whole bunch of people that don't want to see it? Not only is your performance bad, but your estimated action rate as a brand and your page score go down. What this means is all of your costs of advertising across every single campaign that you have will go up. So basically what you're doing is you're paying extra to restrict Facebook from meeting their business objectives at the expense of stability, specifically to make Facebook more expensive in the long term and force you to work harder and harder. Now that to me sounds like an absolutely terrible investment. So what are we supposed to do? We test against broad. We test against age, gender, and location. Those are the levels of your demographics that you can add into Facebook that don't cost extra, according to Facebook. According to the actual algorithm and the code, those are things that do not tack on an additional cost. So you're able to reach the most amount of people. And because you're reaching the most amount of people, your CPMs being low, what you're also going to be able to do is show your ad to the right people. Now, if you ever run a nice little test of, say, a lookalike audience and interest group in a broad campaign, and you measure, well, my CTR and my broad is the lowest, great. Your ad is being shown to so many people that you're being successful even though the click-through rate is bad, because the click-through rate doesn't mean anything other than how many people click versus how many people did your ad get shown to. We want your click-through rate to be bad. We want your CPMs to be low. It's the exact same thing as your Instagram Reel getting a lot of views from people that don't know you. Because your ad is so good, Facebook is showing it to more and more people because you are respecting their business objectives and giving them a valuable asset better than your competition. In addition to that, not only are we trying to solve it in that way, what you'll also see when you kind of run this test is maybe your CPCs are higher. Great. We don't care. CPCs don't mean anything. Volume of traffic and quality of traffic are not related in any fashion. And a matter of fact, the only times they are related is when you're getting super low CPCs where you're just driving a ton of garbage traffic into your system. The last thing that you do maybe want to take a look at is your conversion rate. Of the people that click, who is actually most likely to want to take a purchase, and what audience is going to have the highest one? You guessed it, it's most likely going to be your broad, especially if you tested your ads against broad. Which means while you're paying a lower price for that inventory, you're also reaching people who are far more likely to actually want to click and take the desired action. So let me put it to you this way. Would you rather reach an audience of 200 people and get 100 people to click and say 5 people to buy, 5% conversion rate, 50% click-through rate? Or would you rather reach 1,000 people and get 300 people to click and to get, I don't know, let's say 10 people to buy? That's just a little over 3% conversion rate, twice as many buyers. You're also reaching that 1,000 people for the same price as that 200, and your click-through rate is far worse. But because what you're actually doing is inflating your upper funnel metrics by giving Facebook content that it likes to see, you're getting a much better business result. And what happens when you reach that broader audience with an ad that wants to be shown and you get that ad shown to more people is you reduce your cost of advertising because you're increasing the volume of higher quality individuals through your funnel, and you're reducing your CPMs while increasing your conversion rate, which ultimately improves your estimated action rate. And let me tell you this, if your CPMs are over $25, I can guarantee you right now that you are not doing this. If your CPMs are over $20, there's absolutely room for you to get a lot better at this. So it ultimately brings us down to, how do we do this? Well, the way we do this is we measure the branded estimated action rate of every element of every one of our ads. We then test all of the elements that have the most desirable business metrics for Facebook to see which ones deliver us the best business metrics for our efforts. From there, we can extract the post IDs of our best ads and run them as control elements. And what will happen is we're going to see tremendously stable results against an audience that is infinitely scalable. And we're going to make a large investment in a few amount of places, so our ad is getting better and better. The quality of that ad's lookalike audience continues to improve because it's getting more and more data. And the estimated action rate of that ad continues to improve because it sees more and more people who are responding positively to it. Now, if you have a system and a process to run your testing in this fashion, the net result is a stable ad account that is projectable and scalable, and honestly will get more efficient as you increase your budget because you're getting more data into the situation. Remember, we said that what you pay in the auction is your budget and your estimated action rate and your page score. Well, when your budget goes up, your costs should go up. But if your budget goes up and that allows your ads to be smarter and your estimated action rate increases at the same pace or better, and as a result you're reaching more and more people who are more and more likely to take more and more highly desired actions, your page score also improves. Now, as your page score improves, your estimated action rate goes up, your cost plummets, which means that you can spend more money. This is a compounding interest solution. And if the person that you are learning from is not teaching you how to do this, or if you personally don't feel confident in being able to execute this thing, I've got a way of teaching this to you. And I would love to have a conversation with you about it. This is one of the core elements of the Facebook Ads MBA program. And there's really a line in the sand. Either you are designing your ad account to solve these problems, in which case you are going to be more and more successful every year, or you aren't, which means your costs are rising every single year. If your costs for your business are rising every single year, I can almost guarantee you that you do not have right now a system in place to test for your estimated action rate and a process to escalate those winners all the way through to control ads for you to be able to maximize the value of your investment to ultimately achieve more desirable business objectives. If that is something that you want to do, DM me. I'm gladly here to help. And if you can't DM me, if you don't want to, you can always just comment MBA and I will reach out to you. So the most important thing, remember, inside of Facebook is your ad. Anybody that tells you different is dead fucking wrong. Until next time, I'll see you on the internet. Bye.